Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to dive into some brief technical analysis on Ethereum, just to see exactly what's been going on most recently. We have seen a 34% pullback in the last 18 days, but we have seen at least started to see a bit of a recovery out of this area. So we're going to dive into what's been going on most recently. And if you do find this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything. Right, let's dive right on into this and get into what's going on with Ethereum. Now, obviously, Ethereum has been an interesting mover this cycle so far. If we actually just zoom over, we can see that for this bull run so far, we've actually seen a peak of wave 3 here, coming in at about 5,103% in gains. Now, from there, obviously, we had the pullback within wave 4 and a nice surge up into wave 5, recently pulling back by that 34%, as I said. We can see this thing going up another 321%, up to about $13,000. Now, I'm going to just briefly explain why we've got a $13,000 target here and not something crazy like 100,000, 150,000, or 25k, whatever you may have heard from other YouTubers. There's a little bit of rhythm and rhyme to why I am thinking $13,000 is probably the peak here for Ethereum, right? And first of all, we have the performance, right? So if I actually just zoom right out on this this daily chart, guys, bear with me one sec. Here we can see, we've got a pretty good surge, right? Started back up in March of 2020. Peaking with wave 1 up here in September of 2020. Obviously, the month of September is the pullback month, right? So wave 2 came in. We then obviously bottomed wave 2 by the end of September, pushing up into wave 3 in a really strong way. Ethereum topping out up in May at a pretty good sizable area of about $4,300, pulling back in wave 4 down in June, really kind of double, or it's actually a triple tap on this area, right? Dropped down to this area in May, then in June, and then in July, and then we surged back up, right? Now, when we actually take into consideration the performance that we've had so far, and we take the high of wave 3 and the low of wave 4, this allows us to then put the Fibonacci retracement tool on these areas. This then gives us a full extension of the 4.236, which just comes in at $13,000. So based on the current performance of Ethereum, this is where we are likely to end up, okay? 321% from the current position at $13,000. The other thing that we have to think about is obviously fundamental use, right? So why I'm not convinced we're going to see a large Ethereum price, not until you have, I guess, proof of stake and various other things. But basically what you end up with here is a scenario where the gas fees have just become unusable, right? They're pretty high at the moment. They were high back in May, and they're high right now, right? And obviously we have seen them higher. Now, with those gas fees being high, it makes using the network very difficult. So you actually see a migration of over, projects basically bridging over to like things like Polygon, for example, right? Matic, Harmony One, for example, other blockchains that are cheaper to use, right? And as a result of this, you actually then have less use case for the ETH, right? Because ETH is only really paid, or the main use case is paying fees with ETH, right? So people buy Ethereum, they might buy NFTs with ETH, but they also will use that ETH to pay their transactions. Now, if we take a look at some of those big players in the space, such as Celsius, which is one of the biggest dApps on the Ethereum ecosystem, and they pay all the fees for their users. All of a sudden, when you're talking about pushing the price up to $13,000, the gas fees are going to be unmanageable even for those businesses to operate, right? So this is a huge problem for Ethereum currently. And it's something that is obviously going to then potentially cause a bit of a barrier, because obviously as those gas fees increase with the price of Ethereum, then obviously at the same time, you have to expect that people will actually start using things like Polygon Network, which is why you see so many gains on the Matic token. If I actually just throw this up for a second, you can see we've had 42,000% in gains, right? This was in line with the Ethereum price pumping at the same time, right? People were migrating over to the Polygon network rather than just using the Ethereum network. So it's quite a crucial thing that we have to understand in terms of price discovery. As you push the price of Ethereum up, it gets harder and harder for these businesses to operate on the Ethereum network. And obviously, everyday users who use the Ethereum dApps were obviously not going to want to pay over the odds for a transaction. So as a result of it, you actually started seeing more migration away. That's one other reason why the performance that we've seen so far, the top of 3, the bottom of 4, does show us a nice area of about 13,000. I think that's pretty much the top. Oh, Chris on the channel often talks about 8K and is out. Again, that's a pretty sensible area in my opinion. I thinking that you've made a pretty sizable return on investment by the time you get to 8K. But again, I do think we are potentially pushing up to a little bit more at $13,000. But other than that, I do not really anticipate us going too much further. There is obviously a lot of competition now in the market for Ethereum. So again, just looking at the history of the previous bull run high and the bear market low, they do show us at about 25K, etc. But the current performance definitely is not indicating that we're looking at those kind of numbers actually coming in. So although we are hitting all-time highs, we are pushing up, and we have to manage those expectations accordingly, right? So the good news is that we are still looking at a pretty sizable chunk here for Ethereum overall, and the recent pullback does allow us to have an opportunity to buy up some Ethereum at a discounted rate. Obviously, we are pushing up now. We have done for the last couple of days. We can take a look at the stochastic RSI just down here. We can see that we were oversold. We have pushed up a couple of times. So we had one push here. We pulled back down with everything that was going on with China in the real estate market, and now that's kind of coming to a bit of a close. We are pushing right back up again as we look to kind of push back up in the overbought area. The overbought area is something that we've seen over here when we're up this area for quite some time, from an oversold area that was down here, and down here. So overall, everything on these time periods looking pretty good on the daily, and the structure is pretty much intact, right? We're just looking to try to get back above the 786 on the Fibonacci area. This comes in at $3,800. So once we get that closed candle there, that's really where we're going to be looking for new all-time highs. We were tracking quite nicely over here, but we obviously did get pulled back with Bitcoin and then obviously China real estate. But right now, everything's looking to track quite nicely. Now, obviously, as we close the month of September, I do expect some more volatility. Once we're past September, going into October, we should be on an absolute tear to the upside, in my opinion. We have Bitcoin kind of targeting about 60K, so Ethereum will obviously be pushing up into new all-time highs, in my opinion, during that time period. Overall, everything's looking pretty good. So let's jump down into our hourly view. Okay, and it's the hourly view that allows us to take a look at what's been going on most recently. Here we can obviously see that 34% pullback, and recently that surge to the upside. If I grab my price range just here and we actually throw this on, we can see we had actually surged up about 19.9%. We'll call it 20% for ease of it. And so we have pushed back up there from those lows. So we pumped from the low area of 2,600 up to the high area just up here at about 3,100. Okay, so interesting kind of move. Obviously, recent pullback. Now, when we take a look at this move, we can see that we were oversold, going up into the overbought area during this move here. Then losing this momentum, right? This is key, right? Because momentum is everything. This is why I like the stochastic RSI. You can see here that basically you're tracking in an overbought area, and then basically the sentiment in the market was actually quite greedy at the time, and therefore, although the price had to correct down out of this oversold area, the price was protected by only a few people actually selling, and not many people were basically, succumbing to the fear and selling. So instead, you dropped your stochastic all the way to the bottom here without actually doing too much damage to the price, and then we surged back to the upside, back to that high area there. Now we have pulled back again, losing that sentiment. I think Bitcoin had another pullback here, affecting the market, but back into this oversold area. So my expectations are now that we're going to be pushing up significantly higher than we were previously. We take a look at where we were tracking previous. That previous high was over here, with this kind of being your resistance block. My anticipation is we're going to move past that, and we'll be looking to try to find this area here, which should be about $3,300 as a pretty good price expectation on where I think we could potentially be pushing it in the next day or two. From there, though, do expect some more volatility. We are expecting to kind of come down and work our way up slowly for the rest of September. But once we get into October, I think we're going to be in a really strong position. Now, if I jump back up into our daily, I'm going to do a video on this at some point in the very near future. But basically, there is a really interesting pattern that has formed here on our daily, but it's really clear on the weekly as well. And that's a cup and handle. Okay, so cup and handle just here, pretty much from the peak of 3 right to where we were right now, and then pulling down in the handle. This pattern here allows us to basically assume that we're going to be pushing right up to the upside in October. This is why I'm very bullish and have been bullish pretty much through all of this area and all of this area, even this most recent FUD, the stuff that's been going on recently. I know a lot of people are calling it a bear market, or we're still in wave 4 and all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, I don't believe that's the case. We've been down in wave 4 with a triple tap for a couple of months. That to me is a significant amount of time to be down in the lower area. This was definitely a push to the upper side. We took out the 786, definitely not a correction move in my opinion, so definitely pushing up. So, and then obviously when you couple that with the cup and handle, yeah, we've got some pretty good price expectations for the month of October. So everything's lining up really nicely on the Ethereum chart. I'm not going to dive into any more, guys. I'm going to leave it there, keep it nice and brief. But if you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.